Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am going to be doing another story time today. This story time is going to be about this one house that I used to live in my adulthood. So it's not really going to be about my attachment or anything. I think this is the last place that I lived in that was haunted. I just want to take a second before we get started and just thank everybody so much for watching the channel. It means so much to me that you guys are actually watching what I'm doing. I enjoy what I do so much that even if you guys weren't watching, I would still be doing it. So to have people who are so supportive and so loving and just watch what I'm doing is just so, it's so heartwarming. And I just want to thank you guys so much. So we're very close to hitting 700 subscribers, which is really cool for me. I never thought that, you know, it would even get like that. I really started this channel because I just wanted to help educate people about attachments. I just wanted people to know that attachments were a thing and how to get out of it. I'll let people know that it's not shameful to ask for help when you're in that type of situation. Anyway, so I am filming in front of my big window, so if you see people or if you see shadows, it's because mailman or maybe like a car or something drove by. So anyway, so let's just get right to the story. So I had just moved into this house and this was during my adulthood. So I had never actually like lived on my own without somebody living there. So this is the first house that I've lived in where I was completely by myself. So this house, I had gone to look at this house and it was a 2-bedroom house. It had a walk-on like porch thing. And then there were 2 rooms up on the 2nd floor and a bathroom. There was also, it was like a half room, like I think they called it like maybe like a studio type thing, but it was a half room because once you open the door, you maybe had some room to set some things in there, like maybe like a dresser or 2 or something, but when you turn, it was the stairs that led up to the attic. So the attic was a full attic up at the top, and they called it the Spider-Man room because it had a blue wall and red floors, which I thought was really weird. So I decided that I was gonna turn that into my bedroom and that my kids would have their own bedroom on the 2nd floor. So the very first night, I remember I woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, because what other time do you wake up? But I woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and there was just like this heaviness to the room. Like I hadn't really felt that before. And I just remember being like really creeped out. And I also remember smelling like rotten egg smell. So I had gotten up in the morning and my boyfriend, who actually is very diverse in the world of paranormal. He's very familiar with like demons and things like that. I had told him about it and he said, oh, do you remember smelling like sulfur? And I was like, like what does sulfur smell like? And he's like, oh, it's basically like rotten eggs. And I was like, yeah, I do remember smelling rotten eggs. So I know that he told me to be very careful because that was like very demon-like. Now, I'm not saying at any point that this entity in this house was a demon. I don't think so. I just think that it just didn't want us in its space. I remember the second night that I had stayed there, I had tried to sleep in that bedroom and I woke up again at the same time, same smell, same feeling, and I was like, I can't sleep up here anymore. So I actually ended up moving my stuff downstairs. So I had a couch that had like a pull-out bed on it, and I ended up sleeping downstairs for the whole duration of the time that I lived there. So that was the only time. I kept most of my stuff upstairs, but I really didn't go up there unless if I had to. So it got to a point where I wouldn't even, like at first I would keep my clothes and everything up there, but I didn't even want to be up there so badly that I just moved everything downstairs. So I think I lived there for 2 years, maybe 3, I honestly don't remember, but I did not sleep upstairs the entire time that I lived in that house. Basically, we're settling in, and I had my boyfriend over and we were sitting on the couch. Now, the living room had an entryway into the kitchen, but it was like an arch doorway, if you know what I'm talking about. So it was just like you could it was like maybe this wide, and then at the top it had like an archway, and it would go into the kitchen. So I'm sitting on the couch, and the couch is facing that archway, so it's about maybe like 15 feet in front of me. I don't know, I'm bad at measurements. Anyway, so we're sitting there and we're just talking. Now, I didn't have a TV at this time or internet or anything like that because we had just moved in. So I'm talking to my boyfriend, and all of a sudden my dog, who was sitting next to us, just jumps up and he runs over to this like archway, and his hair on the back of his like neck and all the way down to like his butt is just standing up. Now, I've never seen, this is the only time I've ever seen my dog like look aggressive, and he was just barking like crazy. Now, my dog passed away a year ago, so I obviously don't have him anymore. But I've had him ever since he was a puppy, and I got him when I was like 14 or 15. So I've had him for a really long time, and when he's around other dogs, he will bark, but when he's by himself, he tends to not bark. He doesn't care. So you could literally like walk up and like knock on the door, and he would just sit there and like look at the door like, what are you doing? He never really cared. I've only ever seen him not like one person. So he didn't care about a lot of that stuff. So for him to just jump up and like get all aggressive really creeped us out, especially because there was nobody in the house but us. And we're like, what the heck is he looking at? And he did that for a couple minutes, and then he eventually retreated back to us, but he sat on the couch in between us and just like stared at this archway. So it was super creepy. That's the only time he's ever done that in that house. And that was within the first week of moving in. So I quickly started to notice that things were going on. Like I would hear footsteps upstairs when I'm downstairs, and the kids would be like at school. Not at school, they would be at their kids' father's house. I would hear footsteps up, especially in that like attic, when I'd be like in the bathroom or something like that. So you would be in the bathroom, or you'd be downstairs, and you'd just hear like pitter patter feet like running, and then at first you would think it's the kids, but then you realize that the kids are with their dad that weekend or whatever, and you'd be like, oh wait, they're not here. So it was just little things like that that started to kind of add up. I remember there was one day I had gone, so because I lived alone with my kids, I locked my door a lot. So I would go to take a shower, and I would always make sure that I would lock the door. So there was like a covered porch area like for my front door. So there would be a door, you'd walk into like a porch, and then there would be another door that goes into the house. So I would make sure that both of those are locked before like getting in the shower or just like being home by myself. And I remember there was one day I had gone to take a shower before work, and I was in the shower. I made sure I locked the door before I got up there. So I was in the shower, and I came back downstairs after getting dressed, and both of my door, well, not both of my doors, but the inside door was wide open. Now this door had the doorknob lock, and then it had like the deadbolt at the top. And I remember that I had clicked it. So I was like, well, that's really weird. Well, for like a week straight, the door would come open every time I would go like take a shower or just like go upstairs and be up there for more than like 10 minutes. So it really creeped me out, and it was never like even the outside door would still be locked, but that inside door would always be open, and it was really weird for me. So I kind of started to think that like maybe there's a kid here that's like playing around and like wants to be playful, like wants to be noticed. So, but I wasn't like too sure of any of that. So this house that I lived in was prior to my investigation days. Granted, I was still interested in the paranormal because it was after my attachment, but it wasn't, it was quite a few years before I started exploring or investigating. So it was kind of just like my own assumption at that point. So I didn't have equipment, I didn't do any of that. So I remember one night I was sleeping downstairs and I didn't have internet, but I had a TV, and I used to play a lot of Xbox back then. So I would play Xbox and then I'd like go to bed. Well, my TV had turned on, and you know how like old box TVs have like that static when there's nothing connected to it? I don't know if they really do that anymore, but it used to be just like, I don't know, like the black and white like static basically. And I remember waking up and it was on, and I saw the static and I heard like whispering, like a male whispering, but I couldn't tell you what was being said, and I was so scared that I ended up just like pulling covers over my head and just going back to sleep. I was like, we're not dealing with that. So there were quite a few other things that happened, just like little things, like things would be moved or like the door would come open. I was upstairs in the bathroom. So the bathroom was right across from that studio room. You'd literally just turn and you'd walk across the hallway and that studio room would be there that led up to the attic. Well, so I ended up moving a lot of my stuff downstairs, and another reason for that was because that room, the doorknob would get stuck. So it'd be hard to like get the door open. You would have to put your hand like underneath it and then kind of like go like this to try to fully get the door open, and it was really annoying. So I got stuck in that room one time because the door had shut and I couldn't get it open. I had to call somebody to come and get me. So there was one day I was getting ready for work and I was putting makeup on, and all of a sudden I hear the click of the door, and I turn and the door's just like slowly coming open. And I was like, yep, we're not doing that today. And I just basically just like went over and like shut it. There was also a time I was on that second floor. I had come out of the bathroom and I thought I had seen my daughter run down the stairs. So the stairs kind of went like this. And I thought I had seen her turn that corner out of the corner of my eye. So I went downstairs to follow her, and I think I was like talking to myself, like asking her a bunch of questions, like, you know, what did she want for dinner, or like whatever, something simple like that. And I had searched the whole downstairs and I could not find her. And I was like, where are you at? Like, hey. So I started calling her and she answers me from upstairs. So I go upstairs and I was like, what are you doing? Like, did you just run downstairs and like somehow like get past me or something? And she's like, no, like you woke me up. I've been sleeping. I've been taking a nap. So I was like, wow, I really thought that I saw you, because I definitely saw a little girl that looked a lot like her that turned that corner real quickly. So I don't know what that was. And what really started to alarm me was my kids started to have experiences. So my son quickly became attached to this imaginary friend called Thomas, and he would always talk about Thomas, like Thomas doesn't like it when you do this, or Thomas doesn't like it when you talk too much, or things like that. What are you doing? Or things like that. Alfred, come on, say hi to the peeps. Alfredo, now get out. Anyway, So he would always talk about Thomas in a way that was like really weird. Or like, I can't go to bed because Thomas keeps talking, or Thomas wants me to play, or Thomas wants to do this, Thomas wants to do that. So that was very alarming for me, but I knew that my son, like, he loves trains. So I really thought, I think I was making excuses for it. So I was like, maybe he's talking about Thomas the train. I'm not too sure. Even to this day, I'm not too sure, but it was very, very creepy. And my daughter, so my daughter at the time, I'd say was probably 5, which would put my son at like 4 or 3, depending on what time of the year it was. But my daughter started to complain that she could never sleep. And I was like, why can't you sleep? And she said that there was a lady in the backyard. There was a girl in the backyard who would constantly yell at her and tell her that she wanted to be friends. But my daughter was scared of her. What are you doing? I said to not come in. I'm trying to film. Go. You can change later. So my daughter was complaining a lot about this lady who she would see at night. She said she never saw her during the day. It was mostly at nighttime, and she would always be standing in the yard, and she would always yell at my daughter, telling her she wanted to be friends or that she wanted to talk. And I told my daughter, because I had that attachment, so I was a little bit worried. I told her that, you know, I tried to sit down and explain to her what spirits were, and a lot of the times there's nothing to be afraid of, and they just want friends to play with, and you know, it shouldn't be something that she worries about. She shouldn't be scared of things like that. So she said that she was laying there one night and she heard tapping on her window. Now my daughter's room is on the 2nd floor. She said that when she looked out of her window, the lady who was down normally on the ground had floated up to her window and was trying to talk to her. Now, she still remembers that story. And we were just talking the other day, because my boyfriend has some stories from where he lived, and we were all kind of like sharing stories, and she shared that story. It surprises me that she still remembers that story, and she even was able to describe what the lady looked like. She said that the lady had a white dress on and that she had black hair, and that her main thing was that she just wanted to be friends with her. So I don't know whatever happened with that. I don't know if she just ignored her, but she said that it did eventually go away. So that was very concerning for me, because my daughter would always, I would send them to bed and then she'd come downstairs and she'd go, the lady outside is bothering me again. And I tell her, well, just tell her that it's time for you to go to bed and that she can, you know, talk to you tomorrow or whenever, just not right now. So that's what my daughter dealt with when she was like 5. Any other experiences with that? Around that time, so around the time of living in that house, I got really, really big into tarot cards. Now I had done tarot cards before, but I used to just do them every once in a while. But when I lived in that house, it was like tarot cards like every day kind of thing. I was like, gotta do my tarot. That's like my meditation. So I was very, very big into tarot cards. I would always do my tarot, and I felt like doing tarot every day would be the same as meditating, and it would kind of put me, I don't want to say in a higher state, but you would feel just more connected, like with the spirits. Like it would just be easier. I don't know if I'm making any sense or if I'm just rambling. For people who don't do tarot cards, that might not. but things became very weird for me mentally, because I was practicing tarot so often and I was meditating so often, and it was kind of like you're constantly opening your third eye. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but that's my way of explaining it, I guess. So I remember I had gone to sleep and I had this dream that somebody was gonna break in. I couldn't see their face. You could tell that it was a male, and it was just kind of like just this shadow of this guy who breaks in and he steals my Xbox, which at the time was my prized possession. I had a Star Wars Xbox, so it was R2-D2 and it made noises, and I had the C-3PO controller to it. Anyway, I remember having this dream, and I remember just waking up like feeling panicked, like somebody was gonna break in the house, and I remember checking all my windows, and just for like the following week I was very like, I don't know, I was very like, somebody's gonna break into my house, like I just know it. I've had this dream before. So I'd say probably 2 weeks went by, and I had a neighbor, right? So this neighbor, I was friendly with the neighbor, and I was on this big thing about like helping other people and just being nice to other people. And she had asked me to go pick this guy up for her, who was her friend. I guess he needed a ride. So I go over, I'm picking up the guy. He basically says that he's like homeless, all this stuff, like gives me a sob story. And back then I was a sucker. So I was like, okay, well, like you're not allowed to live here, but if you need food, just come over and I'll make you something. Like you shouldn't have to worry about like when you're eating, things like that. So he started coming over for like a week, and you know, he was familiar with when I'd be home, things like that. And anyway, I should have seen it coming, but he ended up stealing my Xbox. And he stole my Xbox, and I had a dream about somebody stealing my Xbox a couple weeks prior. But it just, I don't know, it just like wasn't fresh in my brain, so I guess I wasn't thinking about it. Also, like really weird things started to happen at work. So I used to work at a grocery store, and I would basically just like, I was a cashier. So I would just talk a lot to the people that would come through the line, be really friendly with them. And there was a lady who I was talking to, and she comes through my line, and I really didn't know her. And she's like, oh, how are you? And I said, oh, I'm good. And I thought she said that she has a major headache. So I'm like, oh, I'm sorry that you have a headache. And she looks at me and she goes, how did you know that I had a headache? And I'm like, you just told me. And she goes, I didn't tell you that I had a headache. She said, I told you that I was good. And I said, are you sure? Because I could have swore you said that you had a headache. And she's like, yeah, I didn't say that I had a headache. That's super weird. And I remember her being like really creeped out at first. And she was like, oh my God, you're like Long Island medium. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm sorry. I thought you said that you had a headache. But she proceeded to tell me that she had the biggest headache that she's had in a really long time. And I don't know, but I blame the tarot cards. I had a lot of experiences like that where I would just be talking to somebody and they'd be like, well, how did you know that? And I'm like, you just told me. And they were like, no, I didn't tell you that. Now, I'm not saying that tarot cards work like that. I don't know I think it was just because I was meditating so often and I was working on energy and aligning your body and opening your third eye, and I was doing a lot of that stuff. And that was when I really started meditation, and I was really, really into that when I lived in that house. But I don't know, it started to die down like the things that were happening in that house died down, and I don't know if they just got used to me or just got angry because I didn't care for their pranks, because I didn't like my door being open when I would go and take a shower. Like, I didn't like any of that. That wasn't fun for me. But I don't know. I had ended up moving out of that house and moving somewhere else because I had a boyfriend at the time, a different one, and we ended up getting a house together. But I ended up meeting somebody later on who I was talking to, and it just so happened that they had moved into the house after I did. And they were super nice, and they said that they actually accidentally discovered a bomb shelter in the basement. They said that there was a brick wall, which I remember a brick wall on the back, and they said it was really weird because that was the only part of the wall that was bricked. And I guess I had just never noticed it, or I noticed it but I just didn't care. And they said that they were super curious on what was on the other side of that. So they had taken down the brick wall, and they had noticed that there was like this like door thing, and they ended up prying it open, and it was a bomb shelter, and it had food in there from like, I don't remember what he said. It was like the early 1900s that there was food in there, and there was all sorts of different types of things in there. But I guess whoever owned the house just boarded it up or put bricks in front of it because they were like, nah. Or I don't know how that works. But I thought that was very interesting that there was a bomb shelter there, and I never even knew that there was. But anyway, if I remember anything else, I will tell you guys. I don't have a whole lot more of ghost stories left for you guys. You can only have so many. You can only have so many experiences, and while I do have a lot of experiences for somebody who is my age, I don't have an endless amount of ghost stories for you. You know, and I think I'm very fortunate because a lot of people only experience things like once, or maybe they never experience things, but I've experienced quite a bit, and I don't know if that falls into the question, you know, why do people who have experiences early on in life carry that throughout their whole life, where they kind of just, they have experience after experience? And I don't know how to answer that question, because I don't know if part of it has to do with being into the paranormal, so you're more open to that and you're more susceptible to noticing when things happen and you don't just shrug it off and not think about it, I guess. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching me ramble. I hope the camera shots were good. If they weren't, I'm gonna kick myself. Anyway, thank you so much. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.